I'd like to call this meeting of the West Dallas West Milwaukee School District to order, please. If we could please rise for the pledge. Mr. Bailey, would you please lead us?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. If we could do a roll call, please.
Yes. Ms. Klug? Here. Mr. Schultz?
Present.
Mr. Bailey?
Present.
Mr. Lee?
Here.
Mr. Usdruck?
Here.
Mrs. Justum
He's here.
is here. Thank you. Mr. Sikich is excused. Mr. Keller?
Here.
President Emmett?
Here. Proper notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the open meeting laws of the state of Wisconsin. Do we have any additions or modifications to tonight's agenda?
I have no changes.
Nope. We will then go on to public comments, and we will then move on. We have no public comments for this evening, so we will then go on to item 7, the superintendent's report. Dr. Luxman.
Great, thank you. 7.1 is a report from West Dallas Central High School. Our student representatives are here, so take it away.
Good evening, I'm Mackenzie Gordon.
And I'm Cody Nelson. And we are here with your monthly school board update for West Dallas Central High School. To begin with the athletic update, the fall season was a success and we saw growth from all of our student athletes. Our coaches and student athletes did see improvement in the students athletes' leadership, personal responsibility, planning, goal setting, decision making, respect, community responsibility, and conflict resolution. In addition to their physical and athletic growth, and our girls volleyball team hosted their first home playoff game in almost 20 years. Unfortunately, the Huskies were the better team on that day, but we are proud of the growth our girls volleyball student athletes made at all levels. And the West Dallas WAWM saw success throughout the year as well, and senior Ashlyn Hill Marinia finished the season at the state tournament. In qualifying for state, Ashlyn broke her own record and set the new West Dallas wave dive record with a score of 413 points. At state, Ashlyn finished in 14th place, and in addition, the West Dallas Wave relay team of Ashlyn, senior Kendra Hazley, and first-year Courtney Neuendorf won the Woodland Conference relay meet with a combined score of 369 points.
There were a number of Woodland All-Conference awards won by student athletes, and those include the following. Senior Keyshawn Carter, first team interior line from football. Senior Lorenzo Thomas, honorable mention receiver from football. Senior Amari Bevelins, honorable mention inside line from football. Inside linebacker. Sophomore Nico Safidis, honorable mention secondary back from football. Sophomore Diego Pedro, second team goalkeeper for boys soccer. Senior Colby Crook, honorable mention defender for the boys soccer team. Senior Joey St. Louis, honorable mention defender from boys soccer. Senior Santo Carini, scholarship student athlete from boys soccer. Sophomore Macy Freeland, honorable mention girls setter from volleyball. Senior Corey Eisch, senior student athlete from girls volleyball. Senior Mackenzie Gordon, honorable mention outside hitter for girls volleyball. Senior Owen Benedict, honorable mention setter from boys volleyball. Our student athletes are excited about the upcoming winter season. We look forward to updating you on our success from our boys and girls basketball, wrestling, boys swim and dive as that's a co-op with Nathan Hale, bowling, gymnastics, another co-op, and girls hockey, which is a new co-op at Brookfield Central's teams. All of our teams have been working hard to build on success the fall sports team had. We would like to invite you to attend all upcoming events for the season and look forward to seeing you at our Bulldog athletic events.
Last time we checked in, homecoming week had just started. It was a great success this year, from float building to powder puff, and to the prep assembly, to the parade, to the big game, to the dance, and overall it was a lot of fun for all of the students. A special shout out to Ms. Gralowski, Ms. Hanson, and Mr. Donik as they oversaw the float building, powder puff, and the dance. Mr. Omo led the pep assembly, and Mr. Marion and Mr. Hernandez led it as well. The dance was a big hit on Saturday with more than half of the student body attending. We're sad that this is our last homecoming as students at Central, but we had a great time participating. For de los Muertos on November 1st, Ms. Acevedo, her Spanish students, and World Language Club hosted a Dias de los Muertos showcase in the auditorium commons. The showcase included lots of displays on the holiday itself, as well as the displays on the important figures in Latin American history and culture. During the school day, Central welcomed elementary school students to learn more about the holiday from high school students. In the evening, the Day of the Dead showcase was open for all staff and families to attend and included a potluck and Mexican folklore dancers.
Socktober fundraiser. An NHS service project group led by Alyssa Matthews conducted a Socktober fundraiser for the Sojourner Family Peace Center, a resource for families who are victims of domestic violence. After collecting sock donations throughout the month, the group held a Miracle Minute on Thursday, October 31st, and in total raised $358, including $200 in donations secured by Alyssa's mom. 357 pairs of socks were donated for both children and adults that go to the center. Amazing work by Alyssa and her NHS group. Turkeys for the vets. The last 2 weeks, Interact, led by Mr. Owens, and NHS, led by Ms. Grulowski, held a fundraiser to purchase turkeys for homebound veterans for Thanksgiving. Central students and staff generously donated to help this worthy case. In all, Interact and NHS raised almost $500, thanks to a large donation from St. John's Church to purchase 60 turkeys that will be delivered to veterans tomorrow.
The fall musical Tuck Everlasting closed on Saturday night after 2 weekends of successful shows featuring students from across the district. The show was the Wisconsin High School premiere for Tuck Everlasting the musical. The set, acting, and musical numbers reflected all of the hard work by the participating students, and a huge shout out to the students, directors, and supporters who made the fall musical such a success. Last week, Ms. Ulatowski's reading and composition students participated in a reading workshop with students from Waterford Union High School. All students have been reading the novel Took, and the workshop started with a circle, and the students were then divided into groups. There were 5 stations that included a book discussion, a hands-on activity where students had the chance to build a cabin based on descriptions from the book, the creation of a wanted poster to highlight characteristics of one of the main characters, a snack station with food that was relevant to the plot, and a station in which students need to collaboratively write the next chapter of the book, such as an alternate ending. The reading students did a great job stepping out of their comfort zone and working with other peers to complete all of these tasks.
And now to upcoming events at Central. Door decorating will take place after Thanksgiving break and before Christmas break. Homerooms will work together to create holiday-themed doors and will be judged by administrators and local celebrities like the mayor. It's a treasured event at Central, loved by many teachers and students, that really gets everyone in the spirit of the season. Many seniors are deep into college and scholarship applications this time of year. On Thursday, December 5th, Central will host a college and career financial aid night for all the students and their families, with special sessions for seniors completing FAFSA and UWM system applications. All students are welcome to attend to learn about college and career and military options they have after high school. Central's orchestra and band concerts will take place on December 5th at West Milwaukee Intermediate School and December 11th at Central, respectively. The choir concert will take place December 17th at Central. We hope you can make at least one of these events. That wraps up our update for November. To see all the great things going on at Central, make sure you check out Central celebrations, which are sent out on Fridays by Ms. Grulowski.
Cool.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Enjoy your Thanksgiving.
You too.
Yeah.
Have a happy Thanksgiving.
You too.
Thank you.
Great, so we'll go on to 7.2. It's the legislative update. A couple things happening that were recently signed into law by Governor Evers. So related to school drills, this now allows a public or private school to provide warning to students before a fire, tornado, or school safety incident drill. And that's been one that parents of younger kids in particular, related to school safety drills, which are also active shooter drills, have often raised concern about. They want to help the little ones understand what's going to happen tomorrow and what this is going to be about. And so And so I think this gives us space to allow some of that to happen. Reciprocity licenses, this is related to the teacher pipeline. So it converts teacher licenses based on reciprocity from other states into Tier 2 licenses and allows such licenses to become Tier 3 lifetime licenses after the completion of 6 semesters of teaching experience, and allows a teacher to receive a license based on reciprocity if they have successfully taught for 2 semesters under a DPI-issued license or permit at a public, private, or charter school. So somebody comes in from a different state, rather than having to jump through some of the hoops or certain courses that you have to take in Wisconsin to get a teaching license. If they're successful as a teacher after a period of time, they can then have a permanent license here. So it should be helpful in some of the teacher shortage issues we face. Similarly, a special education license, this creates an alternative pathway to initial licensure as a special education teacher for individuals who meet all other licensing requirements and successfully complete a course of study that provides rigorous instruction in teaching, phonemic awareness, phonics, vocabulary, reading comprehension, and fluency. They receive feedback and coaching from an expert in reading instruction and provide a portfolio of work that demonstrates competence in phonemic awareness, phonics, vocabulary, reading comprehension, and fluency. And then the Minority Loan Program modifies the eligibility criteria for the Minority Teacher Loan Program to allow a loan recipient to be eligible if they are employed by a public school, private school, or tribal school that is located in a Wisconsin school district, where at least 40% of the students are minority students, rather than located only in the city of Milwaukee. And this also expands the definition of minority student to include students of Asian or Pacific Island origin, Alaskan Native origin, or students whose ancestry includes 2 or more races. So this minority loan program or loan forgiveness program up until now was only available in the city of Milwaukee. And so the arguments that many superintendents were making is that, you know, we try hard to attract and hire people of color, you know, for our schools because we're a very diverse school district. And so this may be one more tool that'll help us attract more teachers of color to work with the students that we see every day. And then there was one that the governor vetoed. This was Bill 53. He vetoed the bill which would have added the name of a pupil's parents or guardians to the list of categories that a public school may or must designate as directory data, saying that it would negatively impact the privacy of parents of students in Wisconsin. So I talked about that one a little bit earlier, and I raised that same concern about, you know, the vendors trying to get access to parent names. So the governor vetoed that one. Going on to 7.3, so some district recognitions. At Nathan Hale High School, the cross-country team qualified for the state meet for the 2nd year in a row and took 15th place overall. Team captain Joshua Truchon, a junior, finished 4th overall individually. Joshua also won 6 invitationals this fall and set a new school record with a 5K time of 15.32. So I'll be doing a 5K on Thursday morning at Miller Park, and if you take the 32 and move the 15 the other way, that's probably about where I come out. The old record was 15:54 from 2002. The other members of the state team included senior Liam Kelly, sophomore Cole Hansel, junior Joseph Hurdle, junior Matthew Keys, sophomore Colin Raychik, sophomore Cole Orlowski, and sophomore Alex White. At James E. Dotke High School, the following teachers presented deeper learning topics at the district staff development on November 4th, 2019. Janine Doherty, Jane Wall, Kaylee Bitters, Angela Wardlow, Patrick Kuberly, Bernie McCarthy, and Kellen Lynch. We also had 12 students volunteer their time to escort attendees to rooms, answer questions, and give building tours. And what was interesting, and Deidre shared this with me, so this is now using our teachers, especially those that are really moving forward in the deeper learning competencies and project-based learning, to help their colleagues learn more. And we had a whole bunch of elementary teachers that went over to Dotke. And even the Dotke folks were like, we're not sure about all of this, but you know, this work is good at every grade level, right? We've seen a bunch of the evidence from Franklin right now with 4- and 5-year-olds and their little iPads and why come to West Allis. I still have to find the little clip and send it to Phil Ertl over in Wauwatosa, because there's a little boy in one of the videos that says it's better than Wauwatosa. So this really is our teachers really starting to learn from one another, and I think it's pretty powerful learning for us to organize it that way. So at Hoover Elementary School, special thanks to West Allis Women's Club for donating a book to each of the 4K and 5K students. In addition, they read and spent time talking with our students. We're very appreciative of their support of our efforts to increase literacy. Chris Dakin secured a $50 grant from the MEMIC Foundation for classroom work. Susan Wetridge secured $1,824 from Donors Choose and the Hoover PTA to support innovative engineering, arts, and outdoor exploration in her 4K classroom. And Team Imagine received grant funding and donations from Starbucks to start a student-run coffee shop that delivers coffee and hot chocolate to teachers each morning. At Irving Elementary School, each Wednesday in October, staff members could wear jeans with their Irving Cares pink shirt for a nominal fee. They raised $492 for the Susan B. Komen Foundation and honored 2 staff members who are breast cancer survivors. And at Mann Elementary School, as part of a deeper learning project around bees, Mrs. Lindsay James and her 5th grade students raised over $350 for a pollinator garden. They sold chocolates, thank a bee for that, bee hotels, which students made, and raffle tickets to win a big stuffed bee. The pollinator garden will be installed in the spring. So there's other interesting things that go on all the time. And then just a couple quick updates from me, that's 7.4. So there were no public comments on November 11th, so there's nothing to follow up on there. Deidre and I are just about complete with the community building circles that we've been doing in each school, and I think we just have Lane coming up after the holiday. And what we've been doing is gathering kind of themes of what's working for teachers, what are the challenges they're facing right now, and we're going to use that as the kind of data collection and input for the refresh of the strategic plan. So this is how we kind of move. So you want to go back out to kind of the stakeholders and get input before you start changing a strategic plan. Then we're going to we have a strategic plan leadership team, a strategic plan leadership team, which includes myself, the directors, but administrators, teachers, secretaries, custodians are all part of this big team. And we're going to share all the feedback with them, and we'll probably start doing some draft or sentence starters for some of the goals in each of the area, and then each of the directors has a subset of that leadership team that they'll start to work with for each of the 4 building blocks in the strategic plan. And so we'll shape the high-level goal a little bit differently. We're going to call the next kind of layer of goals success indicators, so the things we want to monitor that are we really moving towards the high-level goal we're setting. We'll draft that, we'll bring that to the board, get some feedback, and then we're going to bring that back to the leadership team, and they'll start mapping strategies, and then we'll bring the final product back for your final consideration. So that's how we're kind of moving from community building circles to the refresh of the plan that the board asked us to work on. Also community building, right? I mentioned this in earlier communication. So we did the community building workshop around equity with very good participation from employees and from members of our community. It was powerful. There was a moment where I was trying to express something that was kind of a aha to me around the challenges of being a parent raising a student with special needs, and it brought me to tears. I brought myself to tears. And there was, as that small community connected and built and worked together for 3 days, there were many moments of tears. Not all mine, but you know, I'm connected to some people in the community with parents and even some of our religious leaders that were there in very different ways now than I was earlier. So we're trying to figure out kind of what's the next kind of step with that work. Do we repeat that? Do we take that internally and do it with all leadership? We're still working through the ideas of it, but yeah, it was time well spent, that's for sure. And then the last thing is just a happy Thanksgiving to all of you and anybody in the public that's watching. And if you're traveling, it looks like parts of the country are going to be challenging, so be careful, but have a really great holiday.
Thank you very much. All right, we'll move on to item 8, the board president's report, taking a look at the board calendar. So today, November 25th, we have regular Board of Education meeting, and immediately following, we do have a closed session. There is no school for students and staff on November 26th and 28th and 29th. So happy Thanksgiving to all. On Monday, December 9th, starting at 6 p.m., we have a regular Board of Education meeting. On Monday, December 16th at 6 PM, we have a regular Board of Education meeting, and then winter break is Monday, December 23rd through Wednesday, January 1st, and classes will resume on Thursday, January 2nd. And then following that, we will have our next Board of Education meeting on Monday, January 13th, beginning at 6 PM. Do any board members have any community updates or events?
Just wanted to mention on Sunday, December 8th, I believe, the firehouse on, hold on, at 2040 South 67th Place will be hosting a pancake breakfast, which will, the funds and proceeds will benefit our school district as well as Operation WARM. And I think that starts at 8:30, so the tickets will be at the door.
Excellent. Thank you very much. All right, then we will move on to the consent agenda for the evening. There are 4 items on the consent agenda. Item 9.1, the approval of minutes from the November 11th, 2019 regular Board of Education meeting and the November 18th, 2019 workshop meeting. Item 9.2, the employment summary. Item 9.3, the supplementary contracts, and item 9.4, the financial summary. Anybody need anything separated? Bill, I think we need the 9.3 separated for,
Okay.
so we'll separate out 9.3. So then we would look for a motion on 9.1, 9.2, and 9.4.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any additional comments or questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, and then item 9.3, the supplementary contracts, we would look for a motion.
So moved. Second. I recuse myself.
Thank you. All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any additional comments or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, great, that passes. Thank you very much. All right, we'll move on to our action items for this evening. Item 10.1 is a field trip to Washington DC for Frank Lloyd Wright students next October.
Hello, hi, my name is Sarah Casso. I'm from Frank Lloyd Wright Intermediate School. And so Heather, actually, her daughter was sick. She was still gonna try to make it, but obviously she's not here, the other teacher that's on here. So we are planning the trip. It's next October. I think this is probably the 8th one I've planned over at Frank Lloyd Wright. So we do it every other year. It's for 6th and 7th graders this year. That would be 7th and 8th graders next year. There should have been a handout for you guys with the information on it. It has the price of the trip. It's 3 days. It's jam-packed. It really is go, go, go. We leave early, I think at like 3 o'clock in the morning. We get there at 9 a.m. and we hit the ground running. Literally throw the stuff under the bus and go until usually like 10 o'clock at night. Some of the big things that we do see is Mount Vernon, George Washington's birthplace. Well, not his birthplace, his home though. Ford Theater, where Lincoln was assassinated, and the home where he passed away in. And we also do the Arlington Cemetery, which is huge, and also with the changing of the guards. And then there's a lot of the other monuments that we do go see. The Holocaust Museum is amazing, if that's the way you could put it. I mean, it is. It's, I think, 6 or 7 floors. So it really is a good trip. The kids really enjoy it. We already have 97 kids signed up this year for it.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, I know. Yes, I have, over the 8 years, we've had it right around that one time before. So, but this is quite a jump from last year. It's almost double. And I think part of it is we changed companies last year. Well, not last year, the last trip, yeah, well, it was last year, that we went on. And this company offers grants for kids, so money for them. And it's first come, first served basis. Any family that has less than $80,000 income, the kids can automatically apply for it, and families do get something. So that is definitely
very
awesome.
nice.
Wonderful. So.
All right. Any
I don't know if you have
questions?
Any questions?
Move to approve 10.1.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any additional comments or questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank
you.
you.
All right, we'll move on to item 10.2, the career and technical education courses.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
So Steve has been working really hard on trying to get more of our transcripted courses and more of the continuum and some of our pathways for CNA and culinary, welding, and IT. And so this year, as I've been putting in my board update, we've been including more and more students in those, and that's been really exciting. But we are finding that not a lot of our students are finishing those programs for a variety of reasons, most of which relate to the fact that the schedule at MATC does not work well with the schedule that we offer at West Allis Central Hale and at Dotke. So therefore, kids are feeling like they're missing too much of the day and therefore don't want to finish the program. Or those instructors at MATC are trained to deal with a different age level of student than our friends that we send from our high schools. And so there's been a few conflicts based on that. So we aren't seeing quite the same results out of it that we would have liked to see. So Steve's been working really closely with MATC on how do we get our own instructors certified to do the same thing and run the programs in-house, because that way we can control a little bit more of it. It'll fit more naturally in the schedule, and the hope is then we can get many more students to walk out with the welding certification, the baking certification, the IT certification, and the CNA certification during their time in high school. The CNA program, outside of a few conflicts with the instructor, that one still has to be housed off-site, which is why it's not included in one of the courses in your packet, because it requires certain equipment, it requires a facility that we would not be in a position to add in at this time. But Steve's been investigating the kitchen at Dotke. Would be a tight fit for the culinary program, but we can make it work. And we're starting to investigate some local churches to see if they have a kitchen that's big enough to be able to do some of the culinary work. We have an instructor who can be certified from MATC to do that work. And he could offer it as a block class, as a first and second period, and get the same thing done that right now kids are going to MATC for a great majority of their day. The welding lab at Hale is actually usable, and so we can do some pretty slight modifications to that can be shared costs with MATC if we do some sharing with them, and as long as our kids are getting into their programs and certified from their programs, or can be covered by the Perkins grant in order to do what it needs to be done for modifications, again, to run a similar program to what they're running. And then the IT doesn't really require, it just requires the computers. So we're struggling to get the kids to really get into it, and then we haven't had as many finish this year as we would like. So we were hoping to be able to offer 3 out of the 4 in-house to see if we couldn't generate some more interest in them, to see if we couldn't get some more kids to finish them, as a way to explore if we eventually did go to some kind of sharing system with some local area districts as far as a CTE center or something else like that. Like, what would that look like if we started to run it in-house so we could see what that was like? So that is what we are proposing, but it would mean going out of sequence. Normally we adopt classes in May that go on for the whole following year. We would like these to go be additions into the course catalog for the 2021 school year. So it would be an exemption to the normal school board policy in order to push those forward, to get them out to counselors, get them out to students, to be able to take those courses come fall. Questions? Yeah, no?
As far as doing this, as far as the cost, you mentioned Perkin grant for the one. For the other things, is this coming from building funds? What fundings is, and how much do we have a ballpark of what this cost is going to be for doing this if we approve it?
The welding in particular, we should have, the Perkins funding should cover the purchasing of the mobile welding units and so on.
Okay.
That's going to take, the rest of it's just a facility proposal, moving some things around, getting some things out of the way and repurposing that. The IT is, you
The
just said,
IT.
that's a non-factor.
We already have all of that
And
stuff.
and then what we might have to purchase for the culinary program, it depends on where we end up finding a site. When we looked at Dotke, we may have to purchase an industrial-sized stove and some refrigeration units, just because we don't want to commingle our supply with what the kids at Dotke are utilizing.
Sure.
Other than that, that also could be fairly easily subsumed in the Perkins grant as we prepare for next year. So,
Yeah.
Or other funding.
Yeah.
So it really, we won't know about the culinary facility until we land on a final facility.
But Steve went with Steve Eichmann to look at the spaces to make sure there weren't any other major facility modifications that would need to get made so that we weren't getting ourselves in over our heads. And he was really confident that it was really just some it's more in materials and things we would need to buy, but venting and all of the things, that electric and all of that usually is what costs you a lot of money when you do any kind of reusing of space. All of that is perfectly fine for what we are looking to do, according to Steve Eichmann from Facilities. So all of that's been vetted with him, and we've kind of gone through all of those things. So it really isn't gonna be, I mean, it's primarily, the welding lab at Hale is in decent shape. It was usable before this. We just stopped offering some of that a few years ago, so we haven't used it in a while. So it's really just purchasing some newer equipment, which again, isn't as inordinate expense, and it can come out of the Perkins grant.
Is there any instructor additional costs for doing this?
There may be some, as we're blocking classes out, and let's say we do a 2-hour welding block, that means that we'll have 25 students with one instructor. There may be, it's possible that we have some kind of an additional section here or there that gets moved up and down. And that would be the same way with culinary and with IT. That's one of the things it'd be a nice problem to have, frankly. But it would be maybe an additional 0.2 of a staff person per of those.
Because there'll be a block. And we wouldn't run them if we didn't have at least the 20 to 25 students that we use for anything else, so that we're not taking up a full teacher for a 2-hour block for 10 students. That wouldn't be very fiscally responsible. It's a bit of a stretch to do this one as a block as it is, but we're also trying to get really much more creative with the way that we do our schedules. It's some of what we're going to talk about in committee tonight. Because for the kind of learning we're trying to do, the schedule is becoming quite the barrier. So teachers are starting to say, well, what would happen if I had more time? And I don't know, what could we structure? We created the schedule to look the way it does. And so what flexibility does it have, and what else could we do to make it so that you could teach the way that we're asking you to teach for the kinds of skills we were trying to build with our kids? Gary?
Where, in some of the courses, they'll say if it's courses being held at Hale, the students have to travel to Hale. If it's at Central, they have to travel to Central. Will the district provide that transportation, or are students required to provide it on their own?
Up until this point, it's been that the student was required to provide it unless it's a student with a disability that has transportation in their IEP, or if it's a student that qualified for transportation for some other reason, like a financial reason that they couldn't afford that transportation. Bill?
Some ideas surrounding the culinary, thinking project-based learning, going down that road. And if we're looking for alternative sites, you could actually set up with, or it has some dialogue with some of the local food service providers, Reinhardt, Cisco, and if you're looking for an off-site kitchen, there's what's really popular now are third-party delivery services. I mean, and that's a segment that's going to grow by like 300% by 2021, they're saying. So they have what's popping up in Chicago, Los Angeles, New York, are called ghost kitchens. And basically, they're just kitchens that are run to provide delivery for third-party delivery services. So in a way to potentially fund and have some business sense and project-based learning, you could look into funding maybe the whole project through some sort of business. And I don't know how that would work, but.
That's a cool idea. I
offsite
didn't realize that, yeah.
We gotta fix
Yeah,
that.
I mean, they do that for offices now everywhere, right?
Right.
There's tons of places
Yeah.
where you don't actually get an
if they're all
office
going-
and you just go rent an office space for a couple of hours if you need to have a meeting, and otherwise you work at a coffee shop or you work somewhere else. So that would make some sense that they're
You just
starting
have
to
the
do something
kitchen,
like that, yeah.
and,
Yeah.
your staff would, maybe it's a class, and they're in there cooking for the afternoon lunch shift and running the business, and then,
That's
stuff
cool.
like that.
Yeah,
I like it.
that's an interesting idea,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, we'll for sure investigate that. Thank you.
You can reach out to me.
Okay.
In that industry.
That's your industry, okay. It's good to know. I will reach out to you, for sure.
Yeah, Gary?
Yeah, I mean, similar to what Bill said, being in information technology, I have some thoughts based on experience within our team as we've tried to get students from Madison College, and some of the shortcomings that we see, or some of the opportunities we see that the colleges maybe are missing that are out there.
Yep, thank you for that. Yeah, the IT one in particular, we only had one student sign up at the start of the school year, and we were bummed about that, because that's obviously a pretty growing area, and cybersecurity and the other things you could
Yeah.
get into in
And
that
it-
field were huge.
It's changing,
Yeah.
You hear the cloud a lot, and it is, everybody's moving it's changing so fast that sometimes we look at it and we don't know if the instruction is keeping up to where the industry is going.
Yeah. Yeah, we're actually spending some time talking about some of what we're offering right now for computer science and a lot of what's in the course catalog and really streamlining it more to consulting with people in the industry to say, what is it that you need kids coming out of high school or even ready for college with the skills around? Because we're still offering some classes that have been around for a while, and when we started to look at some of the curricula, we started to look at some of what we're covering in some of those classes. We think we could do a little bit better than that. Some of them really do need an update and a refresh, so we're trying this to see, like, does that open up the right kind of windows for the things that we're trying to do next with kids? And does it really just push them into that space of having those college level experiences or at least more business-like opportunities when they're in high school so that they really do know what options are out there?
And one more question. For these programs, if there's areas where they need to make improvements, for example, the technology lab needs improvements, is there anybody identified who may be looking at grant opportunities?
We are always looking at grant opportunities, so as those come up, if the board were to approve the courses going into the catalog for next year right now, there's a couple that are floating out there right now around specifically IT that we could apply for. But you have to have a need that would be driving why you'd need some of those things. And then the Title IV grant also allows you to, some of that money can be used for especially the IT field, the IT pathway. So there'd be some availability in Title IV. That's what we've used some of the Title IV monies for up until this point. So all of the software, all of the infrastructure, all of the teacher training actually fits in the Title IV grant. Yeah, no.
Gary's point about the transportation, I had thought about that. If there was someone who had that as a barrier, would we be able to work something out? Because I would hate, we're creating these courses and we want people to try to do it. So if they're like, I don't have a car, I don't financially qualify, but I really like to take this class. Can we get away? Can I get there somehow?
Steve drove the students for the first 3 weeks, so we've certainly
we
himself.
worked it out.
We have the school vans. We have so we've gotten pretty creative in trying to make sure that the kids who want the opportunities are getting them as best we can without incurring a ton of additional costs to our district budget. So we've gotten as interestingly creative as we could. So again, including Steve driving the kids in the van for the first couple weeks.
I got to know 894.
So yes, we're doing the best we can with, again, without creating kind of an animal that we can't control at the other end. Yeah. But we want more and more of our students to take those opportunities, and we know that historically we don't have great luck when one's just offered at one of the 2 high schools to get the other students to go take it, like Project Lead the Way. I don't think we've had maybe one student from Hale in my whole time doing this that has actually taken us up on the opportunity to go to Central and take the Project Lead the Way courses. So we just don't get a lot of that from kids going back and forth. These will be a little different than that because they're not so, you can actually walk out of some of these if you finish the whole pathway with the certification. Right. Whereas the Project Lead the Way, you're walking out with opportunities to go on for further education, but it's not quite the same thing. So we're hoping this expands things a little bit more because we had a lot of students interested that just couldn't make it work in their schedule. So we thought, why are we letting the schedule get in the way? Maybe we can do it differently and still meet the same goal, but yet do it in a way that might be more feasible for kids to actually participate.
Sure.
Any additional comments or questions? If not, we'd look for a motion.
Move to approve?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any last questions or comments? Not all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great. Thank you very much for thinking outside the box. All right, so we will take a quick 5-minute break while we break down. I'm sorry.
There's one more action item.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, there is. I was jumping very much ahead of myself. Item 10.3, the facility, for me, that was the next topic. Facility planning guide in process.
Good, thank you. So this is a follow-up to the workshop we did a week ago, and I want to thank the board for the time and the feedback. So we did make some adjustments in the document. So Dan, you talked about the importance of communication. So we didn't move anywhere. It is in the graphic to kind of the first position, so that it really signals that that's the most important role for each of the teams to participate in. We did add language about the purpose of fund balance. we talked about that, so it's both in the slide and in the document. So just to give a little more background, that concern that people see, well, now you're sitting on $20 million, just go use that, right? So we want to explain why it's so important for us to have a $20 million fund balance. And then we did also expand the community group presentation, so the idea of the senior living facilities. One of my ahas at the community building workshop on equity is talking to one of the pastors in town. He said, you can use us more. What are your key messages that we can be helpful with? And I thought, so maybe we even pull some pastors together around what we're trying to accomplish. And I think other business leaders, I think it'll be important for us to pull together some of the bigger players that help pay property taxes, so they understand what we're trying to accomplish as well. So those are the updates in the document. We did release the request for qualifications, and that's already gotten some interest, so we want to keep the process moving. So hopefully this evening, with your approval, we'll be ready to then start bringing the website pieces live and put out the request for people that want to be a part of the facility team.
Questions? Thank you for taking all that feedback into consideration from last week and for incorporating that into the revised document. So looking
Looks
forward to
good.
get going on that. If there aren't any additional comments or questions, we'd look for a motion.
Move to approve.
Moved and
Second.
seconded? All right, great. Yeah, lots of first motions. So moved and seconded. Any additional comments or questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, looking forward to next steps on that.
Now-
Okay, that was 10.3.
Yep.
Okay, now we're gonna take a quick break, now that I can read the numbers.